The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Q&A with Joe McNamee. All right, for those of you who are new, we have to ask your questions. There's a hand, and you would, with its arrow raised, and you just press that, and that lets me know that you have a question, and I would just unmute you. Or there's a question box, and you could type them in there, and then I'll say them out to Joe. But we would really prefer if you would raise your hand and have me unmute you, because then you can ask your questions yourself and clarify exactly what you're asking. So Joe, can you hear me? No, I cannot hear you. One second, let me go do that.
Okay, Courtney.
All right, you're unmuted.
Can you hear me now okay?
Yep, I can hear you just fine.
Okay. All right, well, let's go ahead and get this started here. Let's go over a few of the rules here. Like Courtney was saying, if you have a question, just click on that little hand thing, raise your hand, and then she'll call on you. If you have a headset with a microphone, then of course you can, speak your question in, and I'd rather talk directly to you because we might go back and forth a little bit on it. If not, then you're going to have to do the typing thing, and it takes a lot longer, and we miss a little things here and there when we try to do that. So in the future, if you don't have it today, in the future, if you do the handset thing, then that'll help tremendously. All right, so what I try to do is I try to stay on top of the Q&As with my Jumpstart students, and then also we get in a whole lot deeper with my Force Your Success students. But every now and then I'll open this up to everyone just so they can kind of get a little taste of what's going on here with us, and get, figure out if, there's a lot of people that would like to be a real estate investor until they try to do it, and then all of a sudden they decide, you know what, I really think I'd like to try to do something else instead. And and that's okay. If there's people out there that don't have any idea of what they really want to do, and they see that and they think, oh, well, that looks like something I'd like to do, because they see all the money that a lot of us make in that. That's fine if they decide not to, because if they all did, then real estate investing wouldn't be profitable. So I'm okay with just a few here and there that actually sign up for it. Now, something that I like to do also is throw something in there that no one knew was going to happen. So this time, we did I think the last time or time before last, I did a deal in Jacksonville, and it was $60,000 or so up front, and there's still some cash flow on that, and some back end. But this time I've got a local student who brought a house deal into us and wanted to connect with us with our buyers list, our existing buyers list that's in that our local area. And so we started marketing it a little bit. So what I want to do is have Courtney unmute Bart. So Courtney, if you could do that where Bart can speak back and forth to me.
All right, there's something wrong with his phone, so I'm just going to have him talk through my mic. So let's hold for 1 second.
He is literally in our office, so that we invited him to come here, so that's why Courtney's able to do that with him.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, Bart. Now, are you using the same headset that Courtney was?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so here's the deal. If you get some sort of cooties, it's not my fault, okay? I'm just telling you. Don't tell her I said that. I think she may not be able to hear me right now, so it's just between us, Bart, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Okay, good.
All right, so Bart, we don't have a great buyer for this one house deal that you brought in, but let me just kind of update people on who you are and how you found us, where you came from, and what you started with us, okay? So
yes.
Who are you, Bart?
Okay, I'm Bart Hunter. Actually, I work in computer security here at a local university. And I actually saw you, Joe, at the local Savannah RIA meeting.
Oh, every once in a
And
while I'll do that. Not too often in my local area, but every once in a while I'll do that. So, okay, go ahead.
right, and when you explained your method of making house deals, I was immediately attracted, and I was like, I want to do this.
Imagine
And so
that.
I signed up for your jump start
Okay.
back in September of 2015, and supposedly now I'm working on my first deal with you because your buyer's list is so much bigger than mine. Yes, I'm still working on mine, but yours is so much bigger.
Okay, so my question, and I know you work a full-time job. You're not a full-time real estate investor, but you signed up with me in September, which is several months ago. What took so long? I mean, what was
Yep.
happening between September and a week or so ago when you came in with this deal?
Well, Joe, because I'm working full time, I'm saving my money and bootstrapping my business, saving up my money. I just saved up enough so I can get some bandit signs and
Okay.
business cards.
All right. So you signed up in September. You took in the training, but you really haven't gone out there and gotten started yet.
Right, because
Okay.
I remember one of the things you mentioned, you said to go through your jump start at least 3 times.
That's right.
And so
That's right.
I did.
Okay. And so when you signed up, how many times did you pay?
Just one time.
Okay. Did you think that was a trick question?
Just once.
Yeah, so when people hear that, they think, oh, he wants me to buy Jumpstart 3 times. No, the training is made available to you. And so I want you to focus on that training 3 times in a row before we actually get started, doing stuff together. So that's
Yes.
what I want you to try to do, and do it as fast as you can. And that was as fast as you can. And if that's your speed, that's your speed, period. It's a self-paced thing. When we went to this online thing, it just helps so many people. We used to do it live all the time. Every 2 months I'd have a live boot camp. And
Okay.
when I did that, it was like, it wasn't just a fire hose that they were getting blasted with. It was like 15 fire hoses all in 3 days. And so, it doesn't take anything more than a 6th grade level education to comprehend and do this business, but there's a lot of information that's piled on people in that 3-day period of time. So,
Yes.
and then the other thing was, the other problem that people had is, they could afford the training, but they couldn't afford the travel and the hotel and eating out of town expenses, and then
Yes.
being away from the family and their regular job and all. So we went to that online program. It just helped tremendously. And so then when we do that, the only missing part of the live event versus the online is they don't get to ask questions right there on the spot. So that's where the
Right.
Q&As that we set up like this, fill that need right there. Okay, so Bart,
Okay.
so let's, I know we're going to talk a little bit about that house deal, but you really don't know what's going on at all with it, do you?
No, other than the last time we came here and fill out the paperwork.
Oh, okay, yeah, to take over the house from the owner. Okay,
Yes.
so, all right, so Bart, how much money has that house cost you so far?
It cost me $0.
No dollars. You didn't even write a $10 check.
I haven't given it to her yet.
Okay. And listen, don't feel bad, because there's many times that we forget to do the same exact thing. So don't feel bad at all about it. You're in good company with us on that.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So you spent $0. Let's just, from now on, we're just going to say you spent $10 on it. Okay. So
Okay.
because that's what we really should be doing, is a $10 investment. All right. So now you spent $10 on it. So let's go through the numbers of the people who want this house really bad. All right.
Okay.
So right now, the best buyer that we've got so far is a lady and her mother, a lady, her husband, and the lady's mother. All right. So it's mom and the daughter and the son-in-law, and
Okay.
they have 3 incomes. the grand total of their three incomes is $7,800. So that's their monthly income, $7,800.
Okay.
This house, do you remember, Bart, exactly what that monthly payment is on that place? Is it
I
10?
think it's 12, maybe 1,200 with the HOA fees.
Oh, okay, yeah. So that's going to be on them. How much is that HOA fee a month or a year or whatever?
It's $485 a year.
Okay, so that's roughly $70 a month, something like that. Okay, so we're at about $1,130 a month then, is what the PITI is on that place. Does that sound right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So this is where I have a little bit of a problem. So this is going to be questions back to you, but I figured everybody would like to listen to this. So right now, I'm going to fill Bart in on what's going on with this potential buyer. And then we're going to talk about it a little bit. We're not going to make any final decisions right here, but Bart and I will talk some more after this Q&A is over with. But you'll just kind of get a feel of what's going on with us. All right, so they can do $1,300 a month. Now we understand that $7,800 a month income and $1,300 a month for house payment seems a little bit. Wait a minute, they should be able to do a little bit more. Well, I've been working on them with that, and I might have them to $1,400, and I might not. So we'll see where we're at with that.
Okay.
Down payment is $9,000, and they can wait. You know, they want to be moved in before her children go back to school, which would be August. You know, now just so that everybody can be updated on what we're talking about there. I'm sorry, what's the lady's first name that's in the house? Monique? Is it Monique?
Monique.
Okay,
Yes.
Monique. I'm sorry, I do so many different deals. Trying to keep everybody's name straight just kills me. But anyway, so Monique's request was that, you know, we give her at least 1 to 2 months to get moved out, and we're helping her right now try to find a place. We've shown her a couple of places that we had under our control, and then she came back to us, which I want you to get involved in this part, Bart. She came back to us saying that she had found a few homes that realtors had. Now, it doesn't mean you can't do the deal. Let's you get back with her, and then you'll communicate with Monique and let her look at those houses that those realtors have and see if there's something there that she might be interested in. And if the seller will work with us, then poof, we've got a deal. All right. Now, Monique had a request that she gets $5,000 and then lets you have the house. Is that right?
That's correct. Okay.
So she owes about $164 on that property, and these buyers are buying it from us for $189.2. So is that okay so far for a $10 investment?
Yes, it is.
You sure?
I'm positive.
Bart, you don't have to take your shoes off and count that one up, do you? I got you. All right. So and that's not bad for your first deal too. I mean, if you made, you know, $10,000 or $15,000 off of it, that's not bad at all on your first deal. You know, so so this can be played with a little bit. We can keep looking for other buyers. These buyers here, they came in yesterday. I recorded it so you can watch that video. So you remember I told you I would do that for you and all. But they were a walk-in off the street, and they walked in and said, hey, we want to go look at one of your houses. And so I guess they had seen a pointer sign or something, and Victoria happened to be here at the time, so she just went ahead and showed on the property. They came back, they fell in love with it, and they wanted to sit down and talk about it. So I recorded that for you, and I record them anyway, but I have it saved just for you to be able to see it too.
Okay, great.
And so if it were me, I'd be taking these buyers, even though I'm not really happy with the spread on the cash flow, but there is the possibility that we can do a little bit better there. You know, so something might be able to be done there. We still have a little hurdle to get over with Monique on this. We got to, you know, make sure that we find her something, you know, that fits this time frame if we decide to take them. But like I said, Bart, we're not making any decisions right here, right on the spot. You're just hearing this for the first time. I've got it written down for you in here, so you're in the other room. But hey, would you tell Courtney to come in here for a second?
Yes, Courtney.
Would you give that to Bart just so that he can kind of look at that and think about it a little bit more, so that after the Q&A is over, then he and I will talk about it some more. Okay. All right. So my typical deal that I'm looking for is people to have a minimum of $300 positive cash flow. Now, Bart could just simply assign this deal, assign those buyers directly to the seller, which is Monique, and let her deal with it and worry about it and handle all that. Because if we can't get their monthly payment up, what's he get out of it? He gets $9,000 out of it. What do we need to go give to Monique? Well, if we give her the deal, then she's getting about $25,000 off of the back end, which will be a while before they get to that point. So let me take that back. So it'll be $9,000 off of the 24 or the 25. So she'd be getting, good golly, she'd be getting about $16,000 off this. So that's a lot more than $5,000 if he did it that way. And she'll have $100 or so a month cash flow, maybe a little bit more. So he could do it that way. He could stay in the game, and even if we couldn't get the monthly payment up, the possibility of them moving out it's possible. They really love that house, so I don't know if they'll move out or not. But if they do, then Bart controls the property, and he gets to turn around and do it all over again and get another down payment. Maybe the next one will be $5,000 or $25,000 or $50,000. You never know what that's going to be, and the cash flow could be higher. Or we can just sit here and play this a little bit longer and see what other kind of buyers will pop up. Now there is a little bit of work that needs to be done to this house, which they understand that they're responsible to do. We're not doing any of the work on the house. So that's pretty much it on that one right there, Bart. So did you have anything you wanted to ask me about it?
No, not right off the top of my head.
Okay. All right. So, and I know you're, wanting to go straight into Force Your Success, where, we get much deeper in this than that. I mean, that was just a simple little thing that we did. But I know you're wanting to get into that as soon as you can.
Yes.
And I have one last question for you. With the time restraints that you have, Force Your Success would help you a whole lot more, because there's a lot more things that we do for you and with you than you trying to do it all on your own. So I just want you to keep that in mind, that's also the case when people go into Force Your Success. They go into Jumpstart, they learn some great things. If nothing else in Jumpstart, they spend less than $1,000 and they learn how to buy a house tens of thousands of dollars cheaper and on a whole lot better terms, even if they just buy a house for themselves to move into, and that's it, period. Even when banks and realtors and everyone else in the world tells them no, they can go out and easily buy a house in the systems that they learn in Jumpstart. So that's if you don't do this as a business. If you do it as a business now, I've got people who make absolutely nothing off of it for many years, and I've got other people who make, $75,000 to $250,000 in their first year, and then they keep growing from there. So, the question will be to everyone else is, who is it that's looking at you in the mirror saying what you can and can't do? Okay, so Bart, if there's no questions, then I'm going to go ahead and open this up for everyone else.
Okay, thanks, Joe.
All right, you're welcome. And so if you'd hand that back over to Courtney and just get where you can hear us. If you want to come in to my room, Bart, that's fine. If you want to come in here.
Okay, everyone. So to ask your question, either press the hand with the arrows so that I'll know that you want to be unmuted. Okay, I see Patty. You have a question, so you are unmuted, so you can ask your question.
Okay. Hi, Courtney. Hi, Joe.
Hey, Patty.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. I dropped an
Good.
axe on my foot this morning, though. How about that? Did you want to know that?
Did you? Did you?
Yeah, I'm serious. And Bart, if you want to see it, it's sitting over there in my office right now.
You are totally serious.
I am totally serious. This is what happened. Okay, everybody wants to know. They all signed up for this to know this thing right here. You don't have to be too smart to do this business. So, and here's my proof. I hurt my toe on my good foot back in December when I was doing my next black belt test. And this morning, oh, and that toe continued to hurt, and if I move it a certain way and, you know, kind of like work my foot a certain way, I keep re-injuring it. This morning, I have a dumpster behind my office complex, and there was a box spring out there that got thrown on the ground instead of being a dumpster. So I went out there with the axe, and I'm just going to kind of chop it in half so that then I can turn around and fold it over and stick it in the dumpster. Well, I picked it up out of the trunk of my car, and it's a little bit chilly here right now, so my hands were real slippery, and that daggone thing slid right straight out my hand and landed right square on top of that bad toe that I got going on there. And I mean, I was in serious agony. So I'm doing a whole lot better now, but anyway, there you go. You don't have to be too smart to do this business, because even I proved that over and over again. So
I'll talk to you after the meeting and pray for you, Joe.
Okay. All right. There you go. All right. So hit me with it, Patty.
Okay, so we just recently got a house under control. It was in State College. It's a $280,000 house is what we're marketing it as. It's an as-is, so in the area, everybody wants updated this and that. So I said, look, I'm not painting and doing all that stuff. I'll price it so that you guys can do the work yourselves. So I have a buyer who's interested. They've got at least $40K to put down. They're making probably $20,000 a month, but because they own their own businesses and they haven't been in business long enough, the banks won't give them a mortgage.
Imagine that.
I know. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
They're making over $200,000 a year and they can't get a mortgage.
That's right. So they make almost they make just a little less in a year what that house cost, and a bank won't give them a loan. Is that ridiculous or what? I mean, we see it all the time. Yes. I have people that come in here and they'll make 3 times what the house costs in a year, and the bank still won't give them a loan. And I'm like, okay, no problem, I can.
No problem. I know. That's what I told her. So we sat on the same soapbox for a while yesterday talking about it. And I said, that's exactly why I'm in business. So anyway, what they want to do is they want to do some significant remodel, taking out walls and, you know, really upgrading it, eventually possibly making an open floor plan between the kitchen and the living room. And, you know, like some of the changing bedroom walls. And so what we're wondering from you is, what would you suggest that I kind of have as a minimum down to be able to get some of these changes made? Now the kitchen thing, I'm just going to wait till she owns the house. I'm not going to, you know, or much further along, because to take that out, you're talking about, you know, support structures and, like, you know, snow loads and all kinds of things. So I don't want to be in the middle of that part, but
okay, so
but the bedroom walls getting changed and things like that. It's currently a 4-bedroom, 3-bath.
Right. Okay, so let me ask you a question here. You said they had 40K to put down, but then you're going back to what would be the down payment to take to allow them to do
how
this
much
work.
more should how much more should they have down? Like painting and flooring, obviously they get to do that right away.
Right. I got you.
Know,
all right.
But if they want to knock out walls and things like that, I want a little more skin in the game, just in case something happens. Like, I think financially they won't have a problem, but, you know, if somebody gets hit by a bus,
well,
you know, and then I'm stuck.
And,
you know?
and so you end up with 40,000, and they've ripped the kitchen out, and now it's going to take how much to put the kitchen back in to turn around and sell it to somebody else?
It could take 60 to redo the kitchen.
Right.
You know,
so,
with the walls.
So here's what I do. Okay. So I have to take everybody into a different world for a minute. This is in the construction world, and this is pre-2008. I'll just say it like that. When you dealt with a bank where you got a construction loan to maybe buy the property and then do the work on the property, they had a draw system, or have a draw system. And so let's say, for example, you are going to do this entire remodel on this house, and the remodel is going to cost $100,000. And you already, you already control the house. Maybe you already own the house. All right, so there's $100,000 allocated, and the bank is going to give you a percentage of the draw of the 100,000 each time you hit a certain milestone. So let's say, for example, all the demolition work has to be done, and then you're going to get 5%. So here comes $5,000 to you. After you do the demolition work, then the bank sends what's called a progress inspector or a bank inspector out. They're doing that progress inspection to see what work you got done. So maybe you only did the demolition work, and so then they put on there that they see that demolition work is done, they check it off, and now your check will be sitting at the bank waiting on you sometime that week or the next week of that 5%, which is $5,000. Okay, so now you have 95,000 allocated to you because you just used 5, and you're paying interest on the 5,000 you just used of your construction loan. Okay, so now let's take it just one step further. You went in, you did the demolition, and you maybe ran the rough-in plumbing and the rough-in electrical. I was forgetting the word rough-in right now. But the rough-in plumbing, rough-in electrical, you ran all that, and then you had the bank come out, and now they've seen, okay, there's 3% for the plumbing, 3% for the electrical, and 5% for the demolition. So now you've gotten 11%. So now there's going to be a check for 11,000 sitting there at the bank for you instead of just 5,000 because you did it all at once. Okay, so when you get done with that whole process, and you've done your last thing and you have the bank come out and do their final inspection, typically they'll come out and look at it, and then they'll have the appraiser come out and look at it because they're given the loan based on what the appraisal of the house is going to be contingent upon the way, you know, in the future. When you're finished the work, the appraisal is based on this work being done on the house even though it isn't finished yet. So at that point in time, then they come out and they verify, yep, everything's good to go. They really did do this, and it really is worth this. Okay? So now the bank finishes up. Then it's time for you to get your final inspection from building and zoning. And so the building department sends out their inspector, and then once they've looked at everything and they're satisfied with it, then they give you what's called a CO, a certificate of occupancy. Now, a $100,000 renovation is probably going to mean that no one can live there when that's going on. If it was a $20,000 thing, then typically you can still live there. But you know, if you're building a house from scratch and it's say a $200,000 house, then you're not getting that CO until everything's done. Okay, so now everybody understands that program and the way that works out there in the construction loan world. Now let's take it into our world. I want you to know where I'm coming from when I created this whole plan. This plan is I'm granting a CO, a certificate of occupancy, based on them finishing up certain things that I want them to do. There's things that I want them to accomplish before I allow them to move into the house. So let's say, for example, they decide they want to go about, you know, tearing out the bedroom walls and, you know, doing some painting, doing some drywall work, maybe a little bit of electrical. They're probably going to have some electrical because they're going to have to, you know, reroute lines and all that kind of stuff. So when they get done with all that, and then there's going to be more than likely some flooring to be done. When they get done with all that, and I'm satisfied with it, then poof, okay, I can say, all right, I'm granting you the rights to move into the house now, but it's in writing that they cannot put any type of furniture there that they can sleep on, no type of blow-up mattress, no, you know, blankets, no pillows, none of that stuff can be in the house. They can't have couches. They can have like a dining room chair, but they can't have like living room lazy boy type things in there. They cannot stay overnight, but they can go in and work on the property. Okay, so now I'm coming up to the answer to your question. I just want to point all this out as to what I do with this. All right, so now when they want to do something that's major, that's expensive for me to undo or to put back together if, you know, they disappear in the middle of the night, in the middle of this project. All right, so when I sit down with them and I look at what they have to put down and I see what kind of work they want to do, the first thing I'm looking for from them is I need to see who it is that's going to be doing this work. Now, Patty, you can have that person talk to me so that I can ask, let's say it's Uncle Bob that's going to do the work, or it's the neighbor down the street, or whoever it is. Maybe they're going to do it themselves. I'm just going
This
to
would be
ask.
a professional contractor for
Well,
this job.
okay.
Yeah.
And if it's a professional contractor, then I don't need to talk to them because we're just going to assume they've got the credentials and the ability to do this. But if they are doing some of this themselves, I just want to chat with them to see what it is that they understand about it and not understand. I want to see if they're totally in the dark or if they really know what they're doing. And just a few different things that I talk to them about that they don't even realize that's what I'm doing will let me know in no time flat whether I'm worried about them doing this project or not. Okay? All right, so now the next piece of this is when they say they want to do something major, like let's just say rip out the entire kitchen and put a whole new kitchen in, then I want to see the new products that are going to be installed there on the property. You can either do it that way, or it can be in a storage room that you have control of, like in a self-storage facility, somewhere where you can see that all these products have been bought and are on hand to be used. Now, they may not want to buy them and put them there on the property if they're not living there, and I understand that. They feel more safer about it that it's been installed. So I'm okay with that, but you want to see all the stuff that's ready to be installed before you allow them to tear out the old stuff. Does that make sense? Okay,
Yeah.
so now they've put, let's say for example, they went ahead and bought all the cabinets and maybe some new flooring and a couple other things, maybe even appliances for the kitchen. Well, that can be anywhere from $15,000 to $75,000, just on an average $280,000 home.
Right.
The most expensive part will be if they're putting in Gibraltar, Corian, or granite countertops. That'll probably be the most expensive piece, individual piece, going into that. But but the bottom line is that I want to see that they actually have bought the stuff. They're not going to show me the stuff that they're going to buy and it's still sitting on the shelf at the store. That's not okay. It's got to be something that's not easily returned. If they paid for it and it's sitting there on a pallet and then they go and do a return on it, that's easy to do. But if they've taken it from the store, and put it somewhere either at the house or in a storage facility, then I'm okay with them going ahead and ripping that kitchen out. Because if they rip the kitchen out and they're not able to put the other stuff back in, I have control of the stuff. Does that make sense?
Right.
Okay. Yep. All right, so that's how I do that. Now, let me just tell you a little story that happened. As a matter of fact, it was the deal I was just talking about that was in Jacksonville, the last call or so that we had. The lady paid $60,000 down to my student. He's a Force Your Success student. He spent $10 on the deal, made $60,000 up front, and then he recommended a contractor who's a really close personal friend of his, and then the contractor gave a bill, said that this is the bid, the quote for doing all the work that she wanted done, which was $120,000. I mean, we're talking about a lot of work that was done here. Now, this is what makes me uncomfortable. The contractor was given a check by this lady for $120,000 before he even did any of the work. The demolition's not done, nothing's done, paid up front. Now, there's not been any issues yet, but Murphy lives all over. Murphy swims and lives and breathes all over that one. But that's what she did. Now, if your buyer is able to write you a check for what the contractor is going to charge, and you hold it in escrow and give it in a draw type format to the contractor as they're getting work done, then I'm okay with that also.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Okay. Oh, I like that, yeah.
Okay, so there's so many different ways to approach, and there's probably 15 more ways, but that's probably enough for this short call here. So that's the way I would handle that. Okay?
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Okay, Courtney, next.
All right, Lee, I see you have your hand raised, so I'm just going to unmute you. Okay, good. Lee, go ahead.
Lee, are you there?
Can you hear me now?
I
Can you hear me?
hear you. I can hear you, Lee.
All right, awesome. I have got a free and clear piece of property that I saw 3 years ago. This guy still got it on Hilton Head,
Okay.
second row, that he wants to sell, and I'm
Now-
sure he's going to look for
now-
a realtor here soon, and I think it's perfect.
All right, Lee. Lee, for the sake, I know what you're talking about, but for the sake of everyone else listening, describe what you mean by second row.
Okay, it's 1 row away from the beach
Right.
at Hilton Head Island.
Right. So is there a street between the houses?
There's a street between, and it's on a corner lot. So
Okay.
there's a road that goes directly to the beach.
All right. And then between this property and the beach, what's blocking the view of the beach? Is it just a typical house, or is it a hotel complex? Is it an apartment complex? What?
It's all residential, and you can see the ocean.
Okay, so there's maybe just a 1 or 2 story house sitting in front of them?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, so you saw this 3 years ago. Was it for sale 3 years ago?
It was by the
Okay.
same people.
All right. And it's free and clear, and they weren't able to sell it. And so now, what's your thoughts?
Well, they called me out of the blue last night complaining about the taxes. He said he had to pay over $10,000 in taxes if he's not earning any money. It's just sitting there, no income coming from it.
Now, is that just
And
1
my
year?
thoughts,
Is that 1 year taxes on that one, or is that a little bit more than that?
1 year.
Okay.
And it is paid up. He paid it.
Okay. All right, so go ahead.
Okay. He wants to sell it for $1.1 million. I don't think he'll take any less, but I think it could go a little lower. I did look it up. It's at 1.289, I think. I mean, I know you don't like my numbers being so exact. I did some research on the property. It's a normal lot. I talked to a person that actually, his name is Bill Haley, who does the rentals out there, and he gave me a lot of information with regards to what I could get per week. It's a doable deal, but it's complicated. It's one of your specialties. You'd have to work your magic on this to make it work as far as I can see.
Okay.
But this is at least worth 10 homes by itself.
Wait a minute. Okay, so this is a piece of property. This is not just one lot. This is a piece of property that's got
It is one lot. It's a normal size lot.
But it's got the capability of having 10 lots, 10 homes?
No, I'm sorry, I confused you. No, I meant
Okay.
that the one deal is like 10 deals. It's complicated.
Okay. All right. So what's your question about it?
Okay.
I mean, obviously, we're going to have to sit down and put a magnifying glass on this. But tell me what it is that you're wanting to ask me now about it.
Okay. It's free and clear.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see if it was possible to take control of this and as a contractor put a house on it and sell or not sell it, lease it, lease option it.
Okay. All right. So the answer is yes, you can do that. And I'll talk you through that whole system there. And it's kind of similar to what I just told you, or what I just told Patty. It's kind of similar to that of the pre-2008. We'll talk through the whole thing. Then we'll look for the lender who might want to jump into that. We'll talk to the seller and see if we can get the seller to agree to go into second position. In other words, they'll subordinate their first position to second, so that then the vertical can be built on it, so that then we can turn around and sell it to pay off at least the bank and maybe even the seller, or maybe the seller will cover financing on it for a while longer. We'll just have to see who's willing to do what. Okay?
Okay. Okay. I think it's doable. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Well, I didn't really help anything there. Just we're going to look at it and then move forward with it. So there's nothing really earth moving there, guys. All right. Next, Courtney.
Okay, James, I see you have your hand raised, so I'm going to unmute you and go ahead and ask your question.
Great, thanks. Can you guys hear me okay?
James, you got some strange sounds going on in the background. By some chance, are you talking on a headset or are you talking straight to your computer?
Headset.
A headset. Maybe if you move away from your computer just a little bit.
All right. Is that better? Or?
Yeah, let's go ahead and try it now. Just go ahead and we'll let you know if we get the old Lost in Space sounds of when I was a kid.
Sorry about that.
That was a TV show that I watched as a kid, and it was black and white, and then it went to color. And I'm dating myself now, but go ahead.
Out of it too. I remember. Hey Joe, I just had a quick question with regard to calling sellers who listed homes for sale by owner. If you just called them and did a query as to whether they were interested in agreeing to terms of some kind, as opposed to getting paid in full, what kind of percentage do you think would be possible to get them to say yes to something like that?
What the percentage you're asking for is, if I talk to 10 people, what number out of that 10 would I be able to convince them?
Yeah.
Is that what you mean by percentage?
Exactly.
That number could be all over the board. What town are you in?
Dallas.
I'm sorry, say it one more time.
Dallas, Texas.
Oh, Dallas. Okay. All right. So I would guess, just shooting from my hip, I'd probably get 2 out of 10, maybe 3. If it's 10 different people, I'd probably get 2 to 3. Obviously, what I look for when I talk to the for rents sections, when I call those sections, is the person who has 10 homes. Like one of my students earlier this morning, Erica, she was talking with different, landlords, and so I can't remember if there's 1 or 2 of them that have more than one property. We're talking about one property, but there's a possibility this will transition into more. But out of those 5, there was 1 there that's got more properties than just one. So if we got them convinced on 1, chances are we got them convinced on a whole lot more. But I'd say probably 2 to 3 if I was talking to them. Now, if you're not used to this, then the first mistake that's made is you're trying to talk to them about terms before it's time. You get control of the property. So you're talking to the seller to be able to get control of the property for 90 days, to put an option to purchase in place, to go out after your buyers that are on your buyers list, letting them know what you have available, to see what their capabilities are, and then you're building a much larger buyers list by marketing that property to the world, and then looking for buyers that make it possible for you to stay in the deal. And I'm looking for decent cash flow for me to stay in a deal. If I can't get decent cash flow, then at a minimum I can assign it. So, but I'm not talking to the seller about terms yet, not until my buyers have talked to me. My end buyers have talked to me. That's when I say I like to let the market speak to me first. That's what I'm referring to. Okay?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Was that your only question then?
That was a primary question. Yeah, I just wanted to get a better perspective on the outreach process.
You're going to get a whole lot of no's before you get a yes. One of the guys that I used to get frustrated because he'd take everything that I did, and then he turned it into training programs and then sell it to people without ever doing any of it. But one of the things he used to say was, you have to kiss a lot of frogs to find a prince. And so that's basically the truth, though. You're going to get a whole lot of no's. And I like to tell people to think about it like this. You got a Walmart sitting right there in your neighborhood, on a main drag, and there's 50,000 cars driving past that Walmart every day. Are all of those people going to pull into Walmart? And the answer is no. And then there's going to be a majority, a large number of people that are going to pull into the parking lot, and Are they buyers? And the answer is no, not all of them are buyers. Then you're going to have people that pull into the parking lot, that get out of their car, go into the store, and do every one of them leave with a Walmart bag, where they bought something? And the answer is still no. So even Walmart gets a whole lot of no's, people passing by, seeing their advertisements, going into the parking lot, going into the store, and they get a lot of no's, and they get some yeses that makes it worthwhile for them to do this. Okay, so that's any business. It's all about the no's and the yeses. The few yeses that you get make it well worth doing all of this. Okay?
Okay, thanks, Joe.
You're welcome.
All right, Patty had another question, so go ahead, Patty.
Okay. So, by the way, I've never come out of a Walmart without at least a basketful of stuff.
You and my wife, Patty. Jim, your husband, Jim, and I, we suffer tremendously because we did not take on the possibility of buying stock in Walmart.
Yeah, there you go.
50 years ago, or however many long years ago it was. We should have. So
their average order is $70, by the way.
There you go.
So, okay, so my question is, what system do you use to manage when a new person comes in, to manage to make sure all the utilities are transferred over, so you don't get some surprise a couple months down the road that the sewer or electric, or I don't care, electric, that'll get shut off, but sewer or water, they're lienable items that I get surprised with that.
You know what? I'm glad that Victoria just walked in, because I'm going to have to ask her that. She's the one that follows up on that.
Okay.
So she's doing something with something else right this second. But let me just tell you this. Right off the bat, our system is, for the electric, it's Georgia Power. Georgia Power changed about 2 years ago. It used to be that if the tenant moved out, hey Vicki, hold on just a minute. I got a question I want to ask you. If the tenant moved out, then as soon as that bill wasn't being paid, it gets maybe a month or so behind. The power's getting turned off, and then it gets turned back on for a new person who either has already moved in or is going to move in. So they kind of policed it themselves. Well, about 2 years ago, the power company changed it to where, and let me go back. So before 2 years ago, prior to 2 years ago, there was they had a landlord policy program where, if we wanted the power to stay on, people were moved out and we didn't want that power shut off, then immediately when we said so, it would revert into our company's name so that now the power stays on, and then we take care of, the bill until our new tenant moves in, and then the new tenant moving in and buyer moving in, then they, we would tell them they need to go ahead and get the power turned on in their name. Now, back in that day, we also had a real close friend who worked there who turned the power on and off on the properties. So it's good to know people. But so we would just contact her and let her know, this was the old person, this is the new person, and we'd send a copy of the contract to them, and that it all was taken care of for us. Now they leave the power on, and as long as the bill's not running up too crazy, they don't charge us for this power being on. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen, and it must be just a test thing, but the power stays on, and the power company doesn't know who to bill because the person moved out, and that person could have been a buyer, who actually owned the property, and we might be going through the process of them signing their deed back over to us or what have you, but they just leave the power on. If it gets ran up high, then they go ahead and shut it off. But if it doesn't, then they just leave it on. So it leaves us open for what your question is about. So, hey, Victoria, let me ask you this question. So the question is, what system do you use to make sure that the utilities are being transferred into the new tenant and buyer's name going into the property? What is it that you're doing to ensure of that? Okay, that's what I was thinking. So what Vicki does is, first of all, they need to have a contract. The company, thanks, hon. So the company is, I just wanted to verify with her because she's the one that does that part. I don't do that part. He knows that side of it. But the utility company, even our community water system companies around here now, they want a copy of the contract before they allow, before they transfer this service. And so then Victoria has a way where she just calls and follows up to make sure that 121 Pine Street did in fact change, the name change from the Smiths to the Roberts. And so she just follows up like that. Remember, you're controlling the people that are going in, and you have a decent sized down payment, and you have you should have cash flow on it if you're staying in the game. If you're not staying in the game, then it doesn't matter to you at all. But if you are staying in this game and you've taken an end buyer out and put another one in place, then you can put it in your contract if you feel that you need to do that, that they have X number of days to get this changed over. You can put it in the agreement that they're not getting the keys until they prove to you that they've changed the utilities over into their name. And so, there's so many different ways that you can play that game. For us, we haven't been stung by that. So the system that Vicki has is working fine, but we got kind of a good old boy network here in the South, so I'm not saying it's like that everywhere. And I'm not picking on anybody else's. I'm not picking on anybody else's area, but the bottom line is, you have to protect yourself.
Yeah, utility companies won't give me any information. Like, for example, a sewer bill where the deed holder, their name is on the sewer, and it's just that the buyer has to pay the sewer bill, but they can't actually turn it into their name. But it might not be my name either on the deed.
That's
so
right.
If I call the sewer company and I say, hey, is this getting paid? They won't answer me.
That's right. That's right. And so the thing that you have to do is the people that are in the house, they're going to have to be bringing their bill in, or it's the seller whose name is still in it. They're going to have to change the address, the mailing address of the bill that they receive to your address. So we receive a lot of mail from our sellers, that comes to our property, that different companies out there like that are communicating with the sellers. For example, the alarm systems that are in some of the houses, those bills come to our property, to our mailing address, to our office address, so that we can monitor and make sure that it's being paid. And so that is a way that you can control that. Now, it gets a little bit, right now you're okay, you don't have a whole lot of properties, but you have a few hundred properties. That gets to be a little bit of a bear managing that, and then it's time to have someone else doing part of that for you. Okay,
thanks.
You're welcome. All right, next question, Courtney.
Okay, Gary, I saw that you had your hand raised and you took it back down, so I'm just going to mute you to see if you do have a question still. So go ahead.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. How you doing?
Hey, Gary.
Chill. All right. Going back to the last, 2 questions ago, got a question on that. As far as calling, making calls and doing marketing, as far as for rents, you said you would get 2 or 3 out of every 10. So of course, somebody newer like myself and others on the line probably have to go through a lot more no's, and that's okay. But I'm just kind of curious and wondering, from your perspective, being in the business like 50 years or so, how is competition more now than it ever has been? Because it seems to be a lot of there's a lot of competition, like you say, as far as mentors or so-called mentors and coaches. So of course there's a lot of investors as well. So just wondering how to do we concern ourselves about that, not worry about it, just have to do a lot of extra marketing, a lot more calling, because I'm kind of like Bart and maybe some others as well. I have a business and I'm not really going as quick as I'd like to, but I'm going to have to really step it up. So I'm just kind of wondering what you think as far as, as far as the competition. Is that something that we should be concerned about, being newer investors?
Well, you always have to keep your eye on competition. Everybody, that is in any kind of business or sports or whatever, you need to know what your competitor knows, or try to figure out what you think the competitor knows, and so that you can, if if I'm going to be a pitcher in a major league game, I need to know who the home run hitters are, and I need to make sure that I'm not putting the ball where they want it. I need to know if I, you know, if they have a hard time hitting a fastball, then that's what I need to be throwing as a fastball. If they're really hard,
Yeah.
if they have a hard time throwing hitting a hook, then I need to be throwing a hook. So competition, you always have to pay attention to it. To step yourself above your competition is to there's several different things for this, but and this is not meant to sell a product here, but by God, if I had a product like this when I was getting started in the full blown in the real estate investing business, I would have been all over this one, and that is my live negotiations. I don't know anybody else on the planet that has anything even close to like that product. Live negotiations is tons and tons and tons of recordings of me negotiating with buyers, real, true, honest-to-God buyers, and sellers, real, true, honest-to-God sellers, and then the professionals who promote my business for me for free. So, and I'm going to tell you about something that just happened today. Every time a subject comes up, there's always a story that just happened recently, and this one is this morning. But anyway, with the negotiations skill honed, then you can get that 2 to 3 out of 10. When you don't have the negotiation skills down, you're still going to be able to fumble through, and you're going to get 1 out of every maybe 20, 25 in the beginning. As you get a little bit better at this and you start learning how to pay attention to what people are saying and learning how to zero in on the problem and solving that problem, and also learning not to jump the gun. Like I saw a house for sale by owner with a for sale by owner sign out front. I called them and asked them, hey, are you willing to sell or finance it to me? You just jumped the gun. Are you willing to sell or finance it to me, or are you willing to sell it to me subject to? You just jump the gun. You don't know what your buyers are going to do and what their capabilities are. So you just want to market the house. You want to get control of the property so that you can find out what buyer is going to buy it and have some backup contracts, so that then you can figure out what's the best offer you can go back to on this house, whether you're going to stay in it or whether you're just going to sell your contract on it, assign it to someone else. But that live negotiations is the absolute sweetest thing in the world to have if you want to do it all on your own. If you don't want to do it all on your own, then the other thing is to get into the Force Your Success program and engage, actively engage in it. Don't sign up for it and then sit there for weeks or even a month and not do anything. You've got to do some marketing. You've got to get some stimulation of somebody wanting to talk to someone so that I can talk to them for you while you're listening to me do that, and you're improving your skills while you're making money off of it to buy whatever you want to buy, and continue on down the road of growing your business. Does that help, Gary?
Yeah, that does. Thank you very much. I got another question, if that's okay.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. Going back to Bart, who's on the call at the beginning with his first deal, and congratulations on his first deal, by the way. Looked like he was getting a $9,000 down payment, and it seemed to be a larger spread, to say, like what the purchase price is and as far as what he was selling it for. Would you have done, and that's okay, I'm not to be greedy, I mean, that's fine, it's great to get $9 grand, but I'm wondering, was there any more room to get a higher down payment, or was that something that
they started out
with? Question.
They started out with $6,000 down and $1,100 a month. So we've gotten them to $1,300 a month and $9,000 down, and so now that's the initial meeting. That's the first meeting. So now we got to talk to Bart. We got to talk to Monique, which is the seller, and see if Monique's okay with moving this fast, because in today's time, Bart, I know you can Bart hear me right now, Courtney? Okay.
Yes, he can.
Okay, so my question to Bart is, what date did we actually put that house under contract? When did Monique come in? What date was that?
About 2 weeks ago, he said.
What date was it?
1 second. He's going to look that up.
All right. Yeah, he's gonna figure that out. Um, I just wanted to know what that is. Seems like it was a Friday. Was it Friday before last? If I was over in my office, I'd still have it on my calendar there, but March 11th. Okay, so March 11th, and then we take 5 days out of that because we were gone. We had taken some kids and stuff to Disney World. So we take 5 days out of that. Today's what, the 22nd? Yeah, 22nd. So yeah, that's about 6 days. So, okay, so we got 6 days tied up with this deal. And that's the first okay buyer. It's not a strong buyer, like I said in the beginning. We can sit and play this a couple more months. I mean, he's got a 90-day option to purchase on it. He could play it for, you know, a longer time. Chances are that buyer will still be sitting there. But when we talk to Monique and she says, oh my gosh, I didn't expect it to go that fast. You know, she sees houses sit for 6 months to 3 years and nothing happens with them. And, you know, this is a major shock to a seller when this happens like this. So can we get her agreeing to this, and do we want to get her to agree into it? That's kind of the question that we're playing with right now. I don't like it because there's not a lot of cash flow, but it is Bart's first deal, so should we go ahead and do it anyway? And it's going to be, you know, up to Bart, and then as long as Monique's okay with it as well. Now the numbers aren't in Monique, you know, being told to Monique, just, you know, that it's moving this fast. And these are the terms that we'll be buying it, you know, from her under. So that's how we play that out. But, you know, I'd rather see, you know, 15 to 25,000 down and about a $1,600 to $1,800 a month, you know, payment on it. Sometimes you can get that, sometimes you can't. But how much did Bart spend on this one? Zero. Should have been $10. And what's he going to make off this one? So, you know, you can calculate out that rate of return and see where you go from there. Not to mention how many new buyers have come in based on that one house. So, and, you know, all that's shared with Bart. So, does that help you out, Gary? Okay, I think I lost Gary. All right, so
I think I was muted.
I'm sorry.
okay.
I had unmuted him.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, yeah, I was just curious because of the, yeah, no, it makes sense, and I would do it, and yeah, it's pretty quick, very quick, 2 weeks, and to make $9,000 with $0 or $10, nothing wrong with that at all. So thank you.
That's right. And by the way, if he just takes that, his name never went in the chain of custody or anything. You know, I'm sorry, chain of title. Never went in the chain of title or anything on this property. So, you know, you have to just kind of think about all those things. What did he do? He didn't do anything. He met with Monique at my office, and he went and he looked at the house one time. That's all he's done. That's it.
One question. How did he find that lead? Was it just calling, or was it like from
you know, I'm pretty sure he told me, but I don't remember. Hey,
if you don't
Bart,
mind sharing, just wondering.
Yeah, Bart, where did that seller come from? Now, was he there's another real estate, Bart's saying there's another real estate guy that he knows, and what is he a realtor, or is he he's an investor? Oh, okay, but this investor was not somebody who would even try to take her house over, because he just said, I don't want to mess with that, but I do know a guy that might want to. There you go. So now Bart just became the go-to guy, and this is his first deal, and I tell people all the time, become that local hero, that go-to guy. Bart just became that to this person who didn't know what to do for that seller based on the situation, and says, but I know this guy who might be able to help you. He's learning something new from this other guy, and we can go from there. So that happens all the time. I was going to tell you all this morning, a call came in from a local guy, and he has a house that's in an area that's about maybe 25 minutes from me, so that that's still, plenty close enough in an area called Richmond Hill, that this person, it's a house that this person says there's no equity in it. Now, this is a guy who bought one of my books but has never bought any of my training, has not learned anything about real estate investing from me except for what's in my book. And he said there's no equity in the house for him, and you can have it subject to the person doesn't live here anymore. They're in the military, and they just need the house off of their back. And so he just calls and says, here's this deal that I don't know what to do with it. I wouldn't even want to think about it because there's no equity in it, but you might be able to figure out something that you can do with it. Well, all day long, we make money off of houses that don't have equity in the conventional wisdom world. So, but you'll get that once you start becoming, once you root yourself, and Erica, I hope you're listening to me, once you root yourself in that one area, just over a little bit of time, and that will start to happen for you as well. But you got to root yourself. And the reason I'm picking on Erica right now is because she's kind of like, we've talked about 3 different cities, and 2 of them make sense. One of them's kind of outside of it. So if she's going to go way out to that other city, then that's where she needs to establish herself. And we just talked about that this morning. Erica's very, very smart, very Johnny on the spot person. I guess I should say Janie on the spot on that one. But I have great hopes for her. She does a great job already, just following up, staying on top of things. Okay, next question.
Okay, David asked, hi Joe, a lot of gurus make wholesaling seem very easy. Of course, they are selling training, which is fine. It seems a little misleading. And aren't you leaving quite a bit of money on the table by doing so instead of staying in the middle of the deal?
If you're just wholesaling, yeah. In most cases, I've done a number so many times for people where I've made comparisons between wholesaling versus just an assignment of contract versus staying in the game. You leave a tremendous amount of money on the table by just wholesaling. The only thing that the wholesaler might be able to accomplish a little more often than you is they're going to do deals anywhere instead of just in their local area. So they might be sitting in Texas trying to do deals in Pennsylvania. Whereas if you're in my system, you're understanding that, like for me, I don't do deals outside of my own area. So I stay within a 50-mile radius of my desk. And so if I'm doing some sort of a deal outside of that area, it's because I have a student in that other area that's the boots on the ground. So let's I just did this is a little bit of time ago, but we did 5 building lots. They were about $1 million a piece in the San Francisco Bay Area. And so I did those, but there's a student in that area who is actually working the deal. I'm doing the negotiations, and they're actually in the San Francisco Bay Area physically doing the deal, and I'm just helping them get it done. But I try to stay in my local area. I try not to jump out of that. So not really sure I answered a question there. So David, hit me with what David asked again. Oh, it was about wholesaling, just wholesaling. Okay, so if a wholesaler is involved in a deal, let's take, for example, Bart's deal. So a wholesaler would never get involved in a deal like that because the actual price of that house is, the value of that house is really close to what's owed on that property. So there's nowhere for a wholesaler to say, hey, I'm going to flip it to someone else who might be the end buyer or might be another investor who's going to do something else with it, maybe to add on to it or whatever to increase the value and then turn around and sell it. But a wholesaler would never even know to do anything with that deal. Whereas, Bart can make, if he wants to stay in the deal, Bart's going to make a minimum of $25,000 off that deal. If he doesn't stay in the deal, then he's going to make $9,000 off of it. Now, That's not much money at all on a $165,000, $185,000 house. That's not much money at all. But typically, when you stay in these deals and you've got decent cash flow on them, you make a whole lot more than that. If that deal, if that buyer had decent cash flow and he stayed in that deal, he's got $9,000 that's starting out right off the bat. He's making $300 to $500 a month off of it. 2 years from now, those people are going to change their mind and either upsize or downsize or move to a different school system or get transferred somewhere else, and he's going to get the house back. They're going to sign it back over to him, and then he's going to turn around and get to do it all over again. And what is the house costing that whole time? Absolutely nothing, maybe the $10, and he's made money off of it the whole time, but he's still in the deal. 3 years from now, he's still in the deal. 15 years from now, he can still be in the deal. No matter what, you can still be in that deal if you just keep yourself as part of it. So, but it doesn't cost you anything. And remember, every month that someone else is in that property, they're paying down on what you owe on this property. But if they move out, the new person coming in, that scale starts all over again. You jump right back to the top again, and you start at the very top again with, the new person and the new price all over again. So you can continually, I've got one house that I've sold 14 times, and that house, just in down payments alone, has paid the house off and then some. And it's like a $260,000 home. But I've never had to pay a dime for it in all these years, but I still control the house as well. So when do I want to let go of it? And the answer is I don't want to ever let go of it. But if my end buyer, does everything that it takes to pay off the property, then of course I have to let go of it. But if I'm holding any type of financing at all on it, then they're going to come back to me some way, shape, or form, either with the rest of the payoff, or we can't get it sold, we don't know what to do, we still owe you this, and so then I take over the debt that's on it, and then I start all over again with a new person. So I continue to grow my income from each and every one of the properties. Okay, next question.
Okay, Lee, I see that you have your hand raised, so I'm just going to unmute you. Okay, go ahead, Lee.
Lee, whatever it was that you did to unmute yourself before, try it again.
Yeah, my apologies.
There you go.
My hand was raised. I don't know why it was raised.
Oh, you fell asleep and pushed the hand button. No, I'm just messing with you, Lee.
That's what it was.
Okay. All right. Next question,
All right.
Courtney.
All right, James, I saw that you have another question, so go ahead.
Yeah, Joe, can you hear me okay? I know there were some issues last time.
We have for some reason or other with yours, we have a lot of garble on there. Try turning your volume down on your speakers on your computer. Let's just see if that does anything for it.
How about now? Is that better?
Yeah, let's just go with that and see if it works fine now.
What do you do if you have someone in the house who just leaves without notifying you, and let's say there's a lot of damage or to the property? Is that a realistic problem that happens from time to time?
Yeah, and you know what we do? We say cha-ching. We say cha-ching.
And why?
What does a landlord do? They say, oh no. They pull their hair out. I would rather have 2 root canals without Novocaine than ever be a regular traditional landlord ever again. I did that many years ago, decades ago. But when you have okay, let's take Patty, for example. Remember Patty was on here a little while ago talking about an end buyer with $40,000 down. So the end buyer's paying the $40,000 up front. Patty might require $60,000. I'm just making this up. It doesn't really matter. But Patty might require $60,000 down before she converts the deed. So $40,000 down. They still have to come up with another $20,000 before she converts the deed. They get to move in with a lease purchase. Let's say they want to take some walls out, put some, new flooring and do some painting. So they do all that. and then all of a sudden he gets a job transfer or she gets a job transfer, and they're going to move to another state, and they leave you a mess. They actually didn't paint, they took the walls down, they didn't replace the flooring, and so now you're sitting there with this house that they've been paying every month, and then all of a sudden they sky up in the middle of the night and there's $15,000 worth of work that has to be done to get this house back in shape if you were to go down that road before you put on the market again. So how far ahead did you come out on that one?
Nothing.
Wait,
You're down.
you didn't come out ahead? If they gave you $40,000 down,
initially.
and they paid, let's say they were in there for a year and they paid the mortgage for a year, and then all of a sudden they sky up on you, and then you come to find out they didn't do the work that you thought they did, and they left you a $15,000 debt.
Okay.
How far ahead are you on that one?
25.
Plus a year's worth of mortgage payments paid on a debt that you owe that you're not having to pay. Okay, so every month that they're making a payment, it's paying down on what you owe, and it doesn't matter on their end until they pay the property off. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so you structure it in such a way that if they do move out, and by the way, when you have the ugly ones, my average ugly one is about maybe $2,000 to $3,000 worth of work. It's typically cleaning the floors like 5 times over, and maybe some painting, maybe painting the whole house. You know, typically we're into that somewhere between $2,000 and $3,000 for, you know, a 2,000 square foot and below house. So, but our down payments and our cash flow and them paying down on the debt that we owe is so far superior to that, not to mention immediately I get to go get another down payment that I wasn't going to get if they stayed in the property. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So let's say that Patty gets $40K down. They're in there for a year paying down on Patty's debt for 1 year, getting her that much closer to whatever debt is on that property is getting paid off. At the same time, when they moved out, they left her with a $15,000, you know, in the red. Then Patty decides, you know what, I'm not going to do any of this work. I'm going to advertise it as a handyman special, and she gets a $10,000 down payment, and they agree to do the work, and she says, okay, I will go along with that, but you got to do the work before I let you move in, and I need to see it done before I'll let you move in. So then what did it cost Patty? Nothing. How much did she make? 25 up front, plus the 5 more thousand that it would have cost if she was paying it, but she's not. And this person is giving her 10,000 more down. So the bottom line is she's $50,000 ahead and didn't have to do any of the work. And she probably got the same price for the house that she did with the first person because they liked the terms. They'd rather spend their blood, sweat, and tears than their green, and that's what they're looking at. So you have to just position yourself in such a way that you truly can say cha-ching when they move out. And I'm going to tell you, several times there's things that are left behind that are extremely valuable also that, you know, a lot of people don't even realize is going to happen. I mean, I've gotten old restored classic cars and, you know, workout equipment and tanning beds and swimming pools and, you know, appliances and all kinds of stuff that is good stuff. And then there's a lot of crap that gets thrown away as well. And, you know, and that's where it comes into play where we, you know, hire a lot of teenagers to come in who, you know, are trying to make some money for, you know, like one we just had do some work on one of our properties not too long ago. She was trying to buy this very expensive prom dress. So she was able to buy her prom dress on doing this work. But, you know, we're paying her, but we're paying her with money that came from the old down payment, plus we got the new down payment, plus we got all the cash flow, plus the people that were in there paid down on the property. You know, so we're tens of thousands of dollars ahead. So truly, when they move out, we say cha-ching. Okay?
All right, thanks.
You're welcome. Next question.
Okay, Tanya, I see you have your hand raised, so go ahead.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you, Tanya.
Okay.
Hey, guess what, Tanya? Guess what? Guess what?
What?
Here I am in Georgia, right? We came back Sunday night from Florida, and it was pretty warm. I was like down in the 60s at night and maybe in the 80s during the day. We come back to Georgia, and it had been similar to that here, but that night it dropped down into the 40s, and this morning it was 38 degrees. I mean, it's going up to 70 or 75 today, but my God, we don't like that cold weather. So what's it like where you're at now?
The other night it was 12 degrees.
Okay. What is it during today?
It's been warming up into the 40s.
Warming up into the 40s. Okay, but you're gonna tell me that. I'm sorry. Say it again.
That's like t-shirt weather here.
Yeah, because it's a dry cold, right?
Yeah.
I got you. All right, so go ahead, Tanya. Hit me.
Okay, so I've been looking at a bunch of houses lately, and I'm getting asked, people are just assuming, because I didn't want to scare people off by telling them I'm an investor and all that kind of stuff. I can tell a lot of these houses, these for sale by owners, are emotional sells, and so I'm kind of backing off on those because they are kind of scaring me as far as my dad built.
When you're saying emotional sales, are you talking about like probate type, death in the family, or?
No, like this elderly couple, her dad built the house and she raised her children there, and they're going to have to live in assisted living, and so in the money that they're going to be getting from the house is going to be paying for their assisted living, and so I'm really kind of leery about jumping into those kind of even talking to these elderly people about.
Okay. All right. Now, so being you said it that way, let's hit this. Let's address this right away. So if I'm dealing with somebody that may or may not be of sound mind, first thing I want to do is make sure that there's someone else that's in their corner that's part of this negotiation, this discussion. Now, I'm not saying just because a person's decided to move into an assisted living type situation, I don't mean that they don't know, they're not consciously aware of what's going on anymore. But I am saying that I don't want anybody to think I'm taking advantage of anyone. So that's the first thing right there, if I'm dealing with a situation like that. Second thing, Tanya, is you need to go back and look in that mirror and see who that person is that's looking back at you in the mirror. Are you a person that wants to just turn your back on people that need help, or do you want to help them for a fair profit? And so you have to kind of, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot there, but I just want you to realize that if you aren't going to do this, then who in your town can? And there's not going to be that many that can or are willing to. So their desire, their need, it's like my daughter right now. My youngest daughter is dealing with a couple that they're in a 2-story house, and I believe all of their bedrooms are upstairs, and the lady has real bad hip trouble, and she can't walk up and down the steps anymore. So they need to move out of that house and move into another house that's a 1-story house. Well, they've tried and tried and tried on their own. They can't find anybody to buy their house. My daughter steps in, her and her boyfriend, and they're able to find buyers right away. And so they found buyers right away to solve the seller's problem. But if they walked away, like you're saying that you're leery about, then these people were still stuck. I think she's sleeping on the couch, which is probably not helping her hip at all. But there's no one else that can help them. So you have to kind of look at it from that perspective. Don't take advantage of anybody, but remember, you're there to help, and all you can do is try. Put an option to purchase in place, see what you can find. You might get an all-cash buyer. That's not as likely today as it used to be. You might get a buyer who can actually get the full funds from the bank. That's not as likely today as it used to be, but you might find someone who can give them enough that solves their problem, and then you do a seller carryback second on it and collect several $100s a month off of it for many years, plus a down payment. and you solved that couple's problem. Their problem is they got to get the house off of them, get some money so that they can move into the extended living, and without you helping them, they're not able to do that. So you have to just realize that don't be afraid of that. Be thankful that you have this this way about you that you can solve a problem that most people can't. That's why your attorney, when we were talking and you said that your attorney was listening to me explain to him about my process, and he only heard a tiny little, just a granule of sand of stuff, and he's saying, you know, the whole thing is brilliant. You know, he's never seen or heard of this before, and he's a real estate attorney for 30 years. So, but that's where it's coming from. So now maybe I'm off base, so you fix me now if I'm kind of out in left field with you.
No, you're right. I mean, I got gun shy because I got I had a lady, she was in her 80s, and I could tell she wasn't really all there, and she got angry with me, and she hung up with me, and so I was a little leery after that of older people that, you know, are maybe not mentally stable. So I was like, well,
okay.
How am I gonna deal with the elderly that they've already moved out of the house, but the house is like, just talking about it, they get all emotional talking about it. So
yeah. Well, you know, as you were talking about that, I've thought about this several times. My house. So I bought a little over 25 acres, and I built my house on it. It's 4,500 square feet. I built it by myself, alone. It took me 7 months, turnkey, and it was right when I was retiring from the military. And you know, two of my kids have grown up in it. Two other kids of mine, you know, have come there and stayed there. One lived there for, you know, maybe more than a year or so with us. But who's going to take that place over, and what are they going to do with it? You know, I designed that whole layout of the property, where the house was going to be positioned, where the horses were going to be, the pond, and, you know, the road leading up to it, and all that kind of stuff. I designed all that the night before I left for the Persian Gulf for the Gulf War, and so there will probably be a lot of emotions attached to that property one day, you know, and that's life. That's the way it's going to be, you know, forever with my property. It's going to be one of these things where, will they hang on to it, or will they sell it? You know, will somebody come in and offer them a deal and they make money off it, or will they try to hold on to it and struggle to hold on to it for whatever reason happens in the future with them, and just try to hold on to it because of this emotional tie? All that stuff is possible, but the bottom line is you listen to the problem and you try to identify that problem as best you can, and then instantly solve it for a fair profit. And you know, my wife and I, we get so emotionally attached to people. For example, this Saturday we will be eating dinner at one of our buyers' houses, and you know, we got emotionally attached to them a while back because of the struggles that they have. But you know, that's a part of it. But don't be afraid of it. Just you are the person that can solve problems that most others can't. Just look at it from that perspective, and if they get upset at you, they get upset at you, and you just, you know, try to calm it down and just say, listen, if you haven't burned a bridge with me, if you want to, you know, hear what I had to say in the future, please let me know. Just give me a call. I'll be happy to go over it and do everything I can to help you. Now, one other thing, Tanya, I want to say to you is, and we don't need to get into great detail here and now, but the conversation on the phone before you go look at the property is just to get the particulars that's on the buyer script, on the seller script, and that's it, and set up an appointment to go check out the house. Go check out the house. You still can't talk about it until you come back and you run your numbers on your calculator, you sharpen your pencil, figure out all these different things about it, and then you call them up and then present them with, let me put an option to purchase in place, this is what I'd like to do, and let me see what my market has to say. So as far as long drawn out conversations, there shouldn't be any in that initial phone call.
okay.
Okay, so did I help, or did I hurt, or muddy it up, or what?
No, you helped me out a lot. The first lady, older lady that I talked to, she didn't let me get very far into the seller script before she asked me if I drank my coffee that morning.
Okay. All right. So the bottom line is, and the final thing about this is that you're not begging them. And in the very beginning, when you're first trying to do real estate deals, you feel like you need a deal to happen more than you need oxygen. And you know, I understand that feeling, and it's a motivational and inspirational feeling, but you have to be careful because it's not the way that you need to be inside of you when you're making business decisions. So you can't let the emotions, make you make poor decisions. And so with me saying that, I'll say this. If they're a pain in the neck in the beginning, they very well could be a pain in the neck in the middle and in the end. So they're pre-screening themselves out. They're helping you weed out whether they're a motivated seller, whether they're a seller that you feel that you can work with or not, right there, right off the bat. And if you go back to the Jumpstart manual there and you take a look at that, you'll see in there where I clearly identify that, I'm trying to figure out if this is somebody that I want to do business with, and based on things like that, she may have just had a bad day. Or she might just think everybody's out to get her. She may be, paranoid or whatever. She may have had a lot of bad things happen to her. I'm not trying to make excuses, but bottom line is that if they're going to be really complicated to deal with in the beginning, then you might be better off not, even though there could be a great deal sitting there.
Okay.
Okay. All right, Courtney, Tanya, did we finish up with that? Is that good, or you got something else to ask on that?
No, but I do have a quick question when it comes
Okay.
to buyers.
Sure.
When I talk to the buyers, and I tell them that, that they would be responsible for interest, insurance, and taxes on the home. They're wondering how much the insurance. They're wondering how much insurance.
Okay, so do you have a person that's going into a house yet?
No.
Okay, then you're not having that conversation. You're not saying those kinds of things yet. You're just asking them what they have to work with down and a month and their total monthly income. There's other things on that script also as well. But as far as the numbers game goes, those are the three primary things I want to know. Total monthly income of all adults going to live in the house. How much do they have to work with down? How much do they have to work with as far as a monthly payment?
Okay.
Then when I have a property that they fall in love with and they want that, now we're going to get into all the particulars, all the details, but not until then. Okay?
Okay.
All right. See, in the very beginning, when you first get started, and Tanya, don't feel bad about this at all. When you first get started, you're feeling like, okay, it can't be this easy. It can't be just, I just need to know these couple little things here. There's got to be something more to it. So you're like trying to figure out what all should I be doing. And I heard Joe say this to one buyer, and I heard him say that to another person, and on and on. But those conversations are happening at the right time. I'm not having, it's just like, Tanya, you were in this club, and your husband, what's your husband's first name?
Craig.
Craig's across the room. You guys don't know each other at all. He sees you, and he comes over, or vice versa. I don't know who's the aggressive one here, but anyway, so Craig, he comes over, and immediately he goes, what's your name? You say Tanya. And he says, okay, Tanya, I got to go get us 2 tickets to Hawaii. We're flying there tomorrow, and we're going to have 3.5 kids and a house with a white picket fence, and we're living on Maui. And that's it. Done. It's all figured out. And you're going to be like, get out of here, you fruitcake, So think about that. All those conversations that you're going to have, it's Craig sees this woman across the room. Gosh, she looks kind of, I think I'd like to meet her. So he goes over and he has a little small talk with you, and then maybe it sets up another time to meet, or you guys find out that you go to the same thing together or whatever, and so you both go to the same rodeo together, and or meet each other there and stuff, and it just kind of the relationship grows slowly into the right things, the proper things to say at the proper time, and eventually he's going to then pop that question and blah, 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 and life's going to be forever and after beautiful, right? But anyway, so just be careful of what you're saying and when you're saying it. It's just like on the seller side, if I see a for sale by owner sign, I'm not calling them and saying, hey, you got debt on this property. Can I go ahead and talk you into selling it to me subject to. Hey, you don't have any debt on this property. Can I go ahead and talk you into seller financing it to me? It's not time to have that conversation yet. I got to build into that. I got to grow into that relationship with that person. Even though we
Okay, I
want the
get what you're
money, we want the money and we want it right now. I get that, I understand. But you just have to build this over time. That's why you don't want to do one of anything. You want to keep, have multiple different possibilities going on simultaneously, and then they're like dominoes. They start to fall over one at a time, one at a time. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Courtney.
All right, Erica, I see that you have your hand raised, so go ahead.
Hello.
Hey, Erica.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
Okay, I have a question, but it's regarding what we spoke about earlier today.
Okay.
We were talking about a duplex in Lawrenceville, Georgia, and we were talking about the fact that there was one deed on it and not two for each home.
Right.
And you asked me to look into it to find out if it could be split into two deeds, so on and so forth.
Right.
So I asked the homeowner to confirm that there was one, or whether or not there were one or two deeds, and he said that there was one. And so I called the city to find out if it could be split. They said that they don't know and that I should contact a real estate attorney.
A real estate attorney?
Yes.
Okay.
Which I did.
Okay.
And they came back and said that it cannot be split. I don't know if that's a county thing or what, but they said for Gwinnett County, they can't split it.
Okay. All right. So the attorney, now listen, I don't know that town. I don't know that attorney. I don't know that city official that you talked to. I don't know any of that at all. But here's what I will tell you.
Okay.
It is a council decision as to whether the property can be split deeded or not. And then it's going to be a construction official from the building department that's going to go out and check certain things. So let's just go over a couple of things. Number one, is there a firewall between the two halves of the duplex? Number two, is there separate water and separate sewer? Number three, is there separate power? And on and on and on, things like that. And if there's not, then there's got to be provisions put into the contract, into the agreement that addresses that so that everyone is aware that, hey, it's all running off of one septic tank, or it's running off of one well, or it's running off of one power source, or and on and on and on. So those things have to be determined so that you know which way to go with that. Now, the next thing about that is that when the council decides, that means that you're requesting a zoning change. So that's a zoning issue, and that change did they ask you the address? Did the attorney ask you the address?
No, he didn't.
Oh, see, so that's not even close to being right, because there are several places that will have a store downstairs, which is definitely a commercial property, and upstairs it'll have apartments that are residential. So there's a zoning difference right there. Now, that's not two deeds,
right.
But then there's the commercial downstairs, there's the apartments upstairs, and they're not apartments, they're condos that are sold off. And so those are separate deeds. But the bottom line is that it's a for some reason or other in the city, you didn't have the right person. You might have to go to the city manager's office and actually go there to ask them that question. And I know that's a little bit of a challenge for you right now, but maybe it's something that Dad could do, if he wanted to kind of run this for you. Because I mean, what difference does it make?
I'm here locally right now, so I could do it.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I'd go in, and you said this is within the city limits, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I'd go to the city manager's office, and I'd talk to them directly and say, here's the problem when you're talking to a government individual. You have to be careful of the wording of the question. So it's almost like the negotiations with buyers and sellers. You have to be careful of the way you say stuff and what you're asking and when you're asking it. Well, in this case, if you ask a city official, hey, can that be split deeded? And they're going to say, well, no, absolutely not, because it's not zoned that way. But can I apply to rezone it so that I can split deed it? Oh, well, yeah, you can do that all day long. You understand? So they don't care. It's not that they don't care. It's just that they're not not thinking like an entrepreneur. They're thinking like a city employee. Does that make sense?
Right.
Okay.
It does.
So you have to realize, I talk about this all the time on social networks. When you can get to yourself, and this is kind of more of an answer back for, I think it was Gary's question or James, one of the two of them. Somebody was asking, how do we get ourselves from, maybe being able to do 1 out of 25 down to being able to do 2 or 3 out of 10? And the answer is really when you can get yourself to realize that there is no such thing as a box that you're stepping in and out of. When your mindset can be that box does not exist. It's just it's a wide open slate, and I can do anything I want to do as long as I comply with the rules, the laws, do everything ethically and morally correct. Then the sky is truly the limit, and the sky's not even a limit because, like my daughter told me one time when she was a lot younger, how did footprints get on the moon? So, so the bottom line is, you have to approach this from, what do they think I meant when I just said that? And so, is there any way that we can make this 2 deeds? Do we have to change the zoning on the property? Do we have to put this request in writing in front of the council? What is it that we have to do? But it certainly is not an answer that an attorney can give, because they don't have the voting rights of what the council has. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. Okay.
All right.
All righty.
Okay. Any other questions there, Erica, on any of that stuff that was going on there?
No more questions.
Are we set up? Are we set up to talk to some of those sellers tomorrow?
Yeah, so far I've got 1 confirmed, 2 just texted me back, but I haven't looked at his text yet.
Okay.
And yeah, a 3rd one, it was going to be sandwiched in between there somewhere.
Okay. So in those 5 deals that we're working on right now, there might be 1 or 2 that we'll be able to do something with quickly.
Yeah, and I just spoke to a friend of mine who's looking to, what do you call it? She's looking to give her home back to the bank because she said the tenant that she had in there moved out. They hadn't paid the mortgage for the rent for 3 months, and she's upside down on the home, so she'd like to just give it back to the bank. And I was like, no.
Not until you take a stab at
So, yeah.
Okay, so
I spoke with her today.
Okay, so let's just play with this. Is this one in Georgia or Florida?
It's also in Georgia.
Okay. All right. So here's what typically happens on those kind of deals for me. I'll put an option to purchase in place. If I don't have a buyer's list in the area, which you've got a little bit of one, but if it's not big enough, we might spend a couple of months finding a buyer for the property. So there might be 5 or 6 months behind. So let's just say that it's going to take $8,000 to catch this loan up. And I'm just making up numbers right now. It doesn't really matter what the exact thing is. So what if my end buyer can only pay $8,000 and I've got $500 cash flow a month out of it? Am I still okay? The answer is of course. If you spent $10 on it and you're making $500 a month off of it, and $8,000 of it was used to catch this up, instead of it going back to the bank, you've got a cash flowing property now, but you didn't get any cash up front out of it. So that's not all that bad. But the next thing is, when I get involved with you, negotiating with the lender who is 3, 4, or 5 months behind, there's many times where I can convince that lender to do something different to where we don't have to give them the $8,000. We just start making the payments, and everything is forgiven from the past, because they'd rather it be that way than to get that house back, especially if the house is, if they owe more than 60% of what the house is worth, they would rather have the payments start happening again. And that's all about that non-performing asset performing again. That's a big deal for them. But if they take it back, they got several months of foreclosure process to get that property back. Then they got to get with someone who's going to try to sell it for them, and then they're going to take a loss on it, a lot less money than what they're owed on it. And then by the time they get done paying all the legal expenses and everything, in this house sitting for all that time, and it's not being maintained and all that kind of stuff. So by the time you get done with it, they were in a lot better shape to just let you pick up right where the other person left off, and with a good plan. And that usually takes me convincing them, because they want to see an established system that's got a proven track record with Better Business Bureau backing and all that kind of stuff to get going on it, and that's what happens when I negotiate. And by the way, you get that because you're in Force Your Success, so you get all that from me on that, Erica. So
Awesome.
that's a good possibility that will play out like that. Okay.
Okay, good, awesome.
All right. Okay, Courtney, let's go with another one.
Okay, Roy, I see you had a question, so I'm just going to unmute you. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Joe, can you hear me?
I sure can, Roy. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I just started the Jumpstart program. I've been through just the first 6 modules. And my question revolves around building the buyer's list. How long does it take to, starting from scratch, build an adequate enough buyer's list before I start marketing? So,
all right, tell me what town you're in.
Wichita, Kansas, population probably about 370,000-80,000.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to shoot from my hip here. I would venture to say you should have 1,000 to 3,000 buyers on your list within 3 to 6 months.
Okay.
And I could see that happening faster than that, but I don't want to be ridiculous about it. So that would be realistic to me. And the only thing that I would see that you would spend money on is some business cards and some signs and some flyers. Anything else, I wouldn't think it would be sensible yet for you to spend any money on. Down the road, you might decide to spend some money on some stuff, but I want you making some money off of some of your deals so that you can use some of that money to pay for other ways to bring in even more buyers on it. But, for example, once upon a time I bought a box truck. I spent less than $2,000 on the truck and the signs and the painting of it and all that stuff, and within 6 months that brought me in it's somewhere between $1 and $2 million worth of real estate deals came just from that truck alone by itself. And so it just we just keep on using it. We don't like to get rid of that.
Wow.
We don't drive it around. Wow. It just sits. But anyway, I mean, but doing that in the very beginning, I'd rather you do some free things and spend that little bit of money on some signs, cards, and flyers, and then from there expand. But there's plenty of places that you can put that information out online and physical to get yourself a decent buyer's list going pretty well.
Okay, great.
Right. Is that it, Roy?
Yep, that's it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Courtney?
I don't have any more questions for you, Joe.
Well, I get to take the rest of the afternoon off then. Oh, wait a minute, I got to talk to Bart. Bart's saying, no, don't leave, Joe. What are you thinking? All right, everybody. Well, I appreciate it, and I hope you got something out of this. If you didn't, you're not paying attention. So pay attention next time. Anyway, all right, we will talk to you again soon. Take care now. Bye.